Hi and welcome to the Get Your Mind Right podcast here on YouTube. My name is Adina and I'm doing a 30-day sprint of podcasts. This is part of my 500 posts in 30 days challenge. I'm currently on day 29 of this challenge as I'm posting this. I've got 1 day left and I'm going to continue on this 30 days of audio pieces. I recently did a 5-part series about the creative mindset of a digital entrepreneur, so you can check that out in the playlist as well. This particular piece is going to be about letting go as a creator. It's about doing the work with full devotion and then completely letting it go, putting it out into the universe and allowing it to do its thing and not obsessing about the outcome of that. Because as a creator, you know that if you keep putting stuff out there and you keep doing it with soul, you keep doing it with heart, you know that eventually something is going to hit. But you don't have to keep thinking about it. You just need to just put it out there and just live your life. This piece is about that. It's a really important thing, and I'm going to talk about a specific, very well-known artist in this particular piece because it's quite important. Anyway, before we get into this, my name is Adina and I am a full-time digital entrepreneur. I have built several 6- and 7-figure digital businesses using written content specifically. That's my area of expertise. And on this channel, I teach how to build a digital product business from 0 to 10K a month and more using strategy and identity shifting. Okay, so in today's piece, it's about, like I said, doing the work with full devotion and then letting it go. Before we get into this, you can subscribe. This is my podcast that I have here on the YouTube channel. At some point, I'm going to put it out onto other platforms, but it's currently on the YouTube channel and it's part of my 30 days of audio pieces. So do the work with full devotion and let it go. The wave will carry you exactly where you're meant to be. You know, there's quiet power in people who work without attachment. They move differently, steady, grounded, unstoppable. They're not chasing validation or approval. They're anchored in something deeper. Their work becomes meditation, not measurement. That's what it's meant. That's what it means to do the work with full devotion and then let it go. We have to admit here, though, that it is difficult to do that, because when you are a creative and you're creating with passion and with soul, you become very attached to the work. The work almost becomes like a child. And so when you actually think about having a child, birthing a child, when you birth a child, you are essentially birthing that child and you're letting that child go, because as much as you, as a parent, it's your job to guide the child and to advise the child and all of that, that child eventually goes out into the world and you have to let them go. When you send the child to school, you're letting that child go because you're giving that child to strangers to look after. So in a way, you have to put the child to the back of your mind and go to work and focus on what you need to do at work. Eventually, your child becomes an adult and you have to let that child go. You cannot hold that child under your control for the rest of their life. You have to let them go and let them live their own lives, which is difficult. But your child is going to flourish more if you just leave the child alone. When they become adults, your child will flourish more if you leave them alone. When you think about your work as well, when you create something and you just put it out into the world and you release it to allow it to just find itself, find its people. I'm not saying if you were to produce a piece of content, you should just leave it and not promote it or anything like that. But you should detach yourself from the outcome. You see, when I put content out, when I've done this with my writing over the years, I'll put it out there and I will say a prayer over it, or I'll say some positive affirmation over it, and then I'll just forget about it. I won't keep on saying affirmations about that same piece of work. I would just put it out there and I'll let it go. The affirmations I do say are more geared towards me being a purposeful creator, me connecting with the right audience and the right tribe, and my audience connecting with my work and finding meaning in my work, as opposed to, well, this has to have 1 million views, and if it doesn't, it means it's completely hasn't done anything. Most creators get stuck in the middle of the sentence. We either do the work half-heartedly while obsessing over results, or we pour ourselves in and cling to the outcome so tightly that it crushes our creative pulse. I know because I've been there, refreshing dashboards, checking comments, watching numbers climb and fall like tides, and let those metrics decide my worth for the day. But devotion isn't measured by metrics, it's measured by presence. What's really interesting is that I had 2 videos that were posted in the same week on another channel. This channel had a lot more subscribers. One video got 3 million views. Can you believe it? 3 million views. And I didn't have any links in the description with that particular video. And when the video started to climb in views, I decided to put some links in the description. And my other video got about 12,000 views, and the other video had links in the description as well. And the video that made the most sales from the links that were in the description, because I speak to every single person whenever somebody purchases something, I ask them where they saw the link in the first place. It's a question that we always ask, and they will tell you, I saw it on this video, or I saw it on this article. Okay, and so the 12,000 video gained more sales than the 3 million viewed one. And so can you imagine, in my mind, if I'm to use the metrics, as in the amount of views that it got as the benchmark, if I'm to use that as the yardstick for this particular video, for this video being successful, I would have been like, well, the 12,000 one failed and flopped because this 3 million one gained so many followers. Got so many views. The funny thing is that for the YouTube Partner Program, I actually earned more money from my video, the video that was with 12,000 views from the digital product sales, than I did from the one that had 3 million views and the Partner Program earnings, which is very interesting, right? When you're truly devoted, you enter a flow state where the work becomes bigger than you. You're not writing for clicks, designing for praise, or posting for validation. You're doing it because you must, because the act of creating aligns you with something raw, true, and infinite. I'm not going to sit here and say you should not want to make money from your creative work. I don't like it when I hear people say that you should just create for the love of it and forget about making money. Like, don't make money at all. Money isn't important. It's not important. You shouldn't put money on a pedestal at all. You shouldn't put it on a pedestal. You shouldn't put metrics on a pedestal. But I feel like when you put work out there that's valuable in any way, and it resonates with people, money is a byproduct of that anyway. This is what I believe. And this is what I've always believed, and it's always been the case. So to create from the heart, create from the soul, create with purpose. Think of a sculptor who shapes clay, not because someone asks for a statue, but because their hands can't help but move. Think of a musician who plays for hours, long after the audience is gone. That's devotion. It's an act of love that doesn't demand a response. I watched it's an interview. I'm not 100% sure where that interview came from, because it seems like it's part of some type of documentary or something like that, or a news cast followed him around. This was for Michael Jackson. I believe it was in 1979, and he was talking about how when on days when they're not performing, this was, I believe, that they were doing a tour. The Jacksons were doing a tour. I'm not 100% sure if it was the Victory Tour or one of these tours, but anyway. And he said that when they close from their performances, the next day they're not performing, and he dances for hours. He would dance for hours, and he wasn't dancing because there was anyone there. He was dancing because there's a deep connection to what to what he was doing. Like, he absolutely loved dancing. There was such a passion behind his dancing that he couldn't actually sit still. His body had become so accustomed to the dancing that he couldn't sit still. And I find that happens for me with writing. Like, I find myself writing every single day, even when I don't publish a piece of content. That's why I have so many articles in my drafts. I think I've probably got about 500 articles in drafts, but I haven't posted all those pieces. It's not really because of perfectionism. It's because I actually hadn't finished those pieces and I want to sort of go back and finish them. But there've been times there've just been pieces that I've wanted to put there just for the sake of writing because I wanted to, not because I was actually thinking of posting it. At some point I might. You know, the tricky part is letting go. And I think Michael Jackson, I keep referring to Michael Jackson because I feel like he's the ultimate sort of almost, I don't want to say poster boy, but poster man or, example of a creator who is so deeply passionate about his work to a point where he pretty much died for his work. He pretty much died for the art. When you think about it, like, he couldn't sleep because he was always high from the work. He was always on, this sort of adrenaline rush from just performing and then needing to come down from that adrenaline. And, it happens to a lot of artists, like musicians, where the adrenaline from the performance is so high, they need some sort of sleeping pill to calm down and all of that. And they become so attached to the work. And if you think about Michael Jackson, it used to take him 4 years to release a new album every single time. That's why he didn't have like 100 albums. He literally, he released not that many albums. When it comes to full studio albums, Michael Jackson did not have many. For the fact that he was the most famous man in the world at one point, he did not have that many studio albums, like full studio albums, even though he had a lot of songs. And that was because he actually found it very difficult to let go of his music. And also he was a perfectionist, so he wanted everything to be perfect before it was released. And that's another thing that some creators suffer with, is perfectionism. And that perfectionism can prevent you from just putting stuff out there because you're so scared of what people are going to think. You're so scared of letting people down. And often perfectionists have people-pleasing tendencies as well. I'm going to say I'm a recovering people pleaser and a recovering perfectionist when it comes to my written content. And a people pleaser when it comes to, life. But when it comes to my written content, I would say I'm a recovering perfectionist, because it got to a point where I literally could not publish a piece of content it was like a whole entire year. I did not publish anything because it was not up to the perfectionist standards that I had when it comes to written content. And what kind of shifted things for me was when I published a piece of content that was really not as good as I would have wanted it to be. And the reason why I ended up publishing it was because I clicked publish by accident. I was going to just click save so that it would go into the drafts, and I clicked publish. And I think there's a way of unlisting it on Medium, but I just did. At that time, I didn't even know how to do it, so I was like, "Oh my goodness!" And I just left it. I went to sleep. The next morning, I've never seen so many notifications. I've never seen so many notifications. And I was like, what is this? And I clicked on it, and it was the article that I'd published. That article was so raw, so imperfect. There was typos in that article, quite a few, because I hadn't edited it. But people didn't even care. Nobody even mentioned the typos. People were just so in awe of what I'd written, and they connected it to it so deeply. It was shared all over Twitter. It got to a point where I had people from the radio in the UK contacting me, asking me to come onto their show. I had people from the podcasts wanting to interview me, and it got overwhelming, actually. But that just goes to show, if I didn't actually do that by accident, by clicking on that, I wouldn't have been able to put that out there and let it go. It was an accident that happened. It was almost like an act of God that thing happened. But you see, sometimes when you create something, when you're so attached to that thing that you've created, sometimes you even prevent it from flying where it's supposed to fly to, because you're so attached to it. In business, in art, in life, want to actually go to this point first. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop controlling. You give your creation the freedom to breathe, to find its audience, its meaning, its impact, without suffocating with expectations. Just the same thing that you would, when I read this, you give your creation the freedom to breathe, to find its audience, its meaning, its impact, without suffocating it with expectations. It's kind of the same thing that with relationships. Like, you don't want to suffocate the relationship with all these expectations and all these rules and all these, you just allow the relationship to breathe, and it works out on its own. You understand that your job was to show up, not to script the universe's response. In business, in art, in life, the mindset changes everything. This mindset changes everything. When you detach from outcomes, your energy shifts from desperation to magnetism. You stop forcing opportunities and start attracting alignment. That's when you begin to see real, sustainable success. Not because you're pushing harder, but because you're finally flowing with what's true. So here's what I've learned through years of writing, building, and creating online. The moment you stop performing for results and start producing from truth, and that truth is what people actually connect with, your energy becomes your algorithm. Detachment is not the same as indifference. It's the art of releasing your work into the world with love, knowing it will land exactly where it needs to. Very interesting, because I gained a new member of my community, I'll say a new client this week, and there was we have such a connection, and in fact it was two clients that I would say had that same connection this week, and there was such an alignment and real passionate connection between us. And I know that this particular person has been watching my work for some time, seeing on YouTube and on Medium as well. But the interesting thing is that most recently my Medium writing hasn't been gaining the traction that it used to gain. Like, I used to get 20,000, 15,000 likes on one video, on one piece of content. I don't get that anymore. But what I've realized is that even though I'm not getting that amount of likes, the people that are coming to connect with my content are people that really genuinely care. It's not just people just clicking clap because they read half of it and then they're like, oh, whatever, I'm done. Like, they're just doing that because they want you to clap back. These are people that are connecting and aligning with my content and with my message, you see. And so sometimes it's not always about having 1 million followers and 1 million people watching your content, even though it's great to have that, to see those numbers go up. Even 20 people can watch your content, and those 20 people can be watching it with so much interest and so much connection and so much passion and so much love that they're ready to purchase whatever you're selling. And not just purchase whatever you're selling, they're ready to follow you on every platform that you're on. They've built a connection with you, a real heart-centered connection. Do the work, but do it with devotion, not desperation. Show up like it matters, even when no one's watching. Let every piece of content, every product, every post carry the imprint of your energy, then step back. Let it go. Let it find its rhythm. Because what's meant for you will never need to be chased. It will meet you in the stillness of your trust. I need you to listen to this again. Because what's meant for you will never need to be chased. It will meet you in the stillness of your trust. And if you're ready to embody that energy, to create consistently, boldly, and in full flow, join us for the Tsunami Content Challenge starting November 1st, 2025. You still have time to join. This isn't about hustling harder. It's about releasing resistance and creating with clarity, confidence, and conviction. For 30 days, we'll ride that creative wave together, showing up daily, letting go of perfectionism, and allowing the power of momentum to work its magic. Do the work. Pour your devotion into it, then let it go. The wave will carry you exactly where you're meant to be. I'm going to leave the link in the description for the Tsunami Content Challenge. It's a 30-day challenge that we're doing, and it comes with accountability, it comes with co-working sessions, it comes with coaching, it comes with a lot of things that are going to help you to take your content to the next level. But it's not so much about virality, it's not so much about that. It's about building your soul tribe. It's about connecting with the people that resonate with your content the most and resonate with the message that you want to put out there to the world the most. I hope you join. It will be great to have you in there, and I'll see you in my next one. Take care.